Yes, thank you so much. My name's Laura Rivera, and I am a Coding Temple alumni from 2019. And currently, I work as a technical business analyst for McDonald's Corporation. Feels surreal because, I mean, honestly, it's one of the biggest brands in the world, if not the most recognizable. And so to be representing them from the technology standpoint is pretty surreal to think about, especially given like my path here. But it's super exciting. I just started that role. Sure. Yeah, so but I like to call it my like elevator pitch version because there is a very extended version of this story. But basically, I grew up in Chicago and my high school was not one of the best. And it was actually known for low test scores and gang violence. And so with that, I had a lot of, I had a handful of good teachers that did believe in me. I do have to give credit to that. But there was also a majority that didn't really invest in us very much. They didn't really believe in us. And one of them said that they were preparing us for life in jail. And I'll never forget that. We also had this really strange, like, assembly that basically told us 4 out of 300 of us were going to make it through college. And it was very, discouraging. And so, anyways, I had set that aside. I've really pushed through mentally and that at that stage in my life because I had big dreams, and regardless of what anyone was going to tell me. So I really wanted to be a veterinarian. And so I finished high school and I did get into college. I was really proud of myself for doing that. So I went into college and I took the path which is to get a biology degree. So I pushed through that program. I was waking up at 4 a.m. and sleeping at 12, studying all day long to catch up just because I was so behind. So I was starting everything from scratch and teaching myself the things I should have been taught in high school that I didn't learn because they didn't teach it to me. And on top of that, the curriculum in college. And I made it to the end. I made it somehow. I graduated college, and when I was getting ready to apply to veterinary school, I should have done the research beforehand. I just, you're young and you don't think about it. I was just like, I'm gonna do this no matter what. But then the hurdle was the financial aspect of veterinary school. So I found out it was very expensive, like a six-figure tuition that I would end up coming out with a tremendous amount of debt, which of course, I didn't grow up. No one's going to pay for that out of pocket. And there wasn't really a lot of financial aid for that either. So I kind of had my dreams crushed at that point, to be honest, when I was this close to achieving something that I couldn't, and then I couldn't achieve it because of finances. Like that's kind of messed up. But I didn't have anything else that I had learned at that point. So I went into the veterinary industry as a veterinary assistant and um, technician, that is. And I so I was working as a veterinary nurse for a little bit while I tried to figure out like what else can I do with my life. And I'm actually proud of that decision because the financial aspect is important. And I recognized it wasn't going to be a good investment for me personally. And at this point in time in my life, I look back and I'm proud of having made that, putting that together, and not going through that because I don't know where I would be right now debt wise if I had just pushed through, and I'm pretty stubborn, so I'm surprised I didn't go through with it. So but yeah, I started working in the veterinary industry and I was making minimum wage with a 4-year degree in the sciences. I've always been a STEM girl. And I that was disheartening to me because my whole life I was told, "Oh, go to school, get the degree, and everything was going to be fine." And then it wasn't. And that was kind of soul crushing, to be honest. And I think a lot of people relate to that. And so, yeah, I was working in the veterinary industry with, I remember the breaking point. It was a day that my scrubs were super dirty from like helping with these feral cats. And I looked down and I had fleas on my arm and I like scooted them off. I went to the bathroom to cry, like a sobbing kind of cry. And I was like, I need to do something else with my life. And thus I started my research journey, which is where everyone should start. Just what do I want to do that I'm going to enjoy, that's clean. I don't want to be dirty anymore. I don't want to do all of this again. And I need something. I need a desk job that's clean, that pays well, that affords me balance in my life. And when I was doing my research, um, I really couldn't find something that fit the mold of that. Then at a hospital that hospital I was working at, they were doing a software conversion for the software where we did all the bookings and stuff for clients. And they actually asked for volunteers because their IT guys were so short staffed. They were like, "Oh, does anyone want to volunteer?" And I was like, "You know what? I'll give it a shot. Why not?" So, I also had seen them rolling in with their really nice cars, and I was like, maybe I should just ask them, see what their life is like. This is my chance. So I I really enjoyed working with that team. And thus I guess those were kind of my first mentors in the field. And I asked them, how did you get into this and that? And they started talking about their degrees, and I was like, well, I'm definitely not going to do that again. And so, but anyways, I was like, you know what, I think this is the path. I think I enjoyed the technology aspect of that because I realized how software impacts our hospital. We always were complaining about the software and how not good it was. It wasn't user friendly. And I was like, oh, I can have an indirect impact via the software. And I just thought that was really cool. And that was when the light bulb struck at that point. And then fast forward, I found an opportunity at a insurance company, and it was a startup insure tech company that was selling pet insurance. And it was the perfect way for me to like blend both of those two worlds together, and kind of like bridge that gap between veterinary and tech, which are totally not the same at all. And I think that was a when luck, like, well, I would like to call it lucky, but it was really just when all the work I did met the right opportunity. And that's what that felt like to me, that tech job. um and I just hit a brick wall there where they just couldn't teach me any more than they had. um because I wiggled my way onto their tech team and I started asking questions, and I just hit the point where, like, okay, I don't have the actual skills to be working in tech. Where can I acquire those? And in my research, I um I looked up, like, I started seeing about coding boot camps a lot. But then at that company I was at, the pet insurance company, I added this guy on LinkedIn, one of the tech guys on LinkedIn, and I saw his degree was in art, but he was working as a manager on the technology team. And I asked him, how did you do that? And he said, I went to a coding boot camp. And now I was like, okay, I'm gonna look up coding boot camps. And I saw best coding boot camp in Chicago, Coding Temple, done. I signed up, and the rest is history.